Yes. Welcome to my new ramblings. Welcome to the Pacific. Welcome to Micronesia. And welcome to Palau. With over 300 islands, Palau has over 1,300 species of fish, 700 species of coral, as well as a load of other special marine ecosystems. I mean, its iconic spot is the Rock Islands. Densely covered archipelagos of rocks which jut up out the water, fringed by amazing coral reefs, as well as unbelievable picturesque white sand beaches. As close really as you can get to paradise. And as you can expect from a description like this, it is a highly regarded tourist destination, and Palau receives over 50% of its GDP from tourism alone, meaning that it's an incredibly important life source for the 20,000 Palauans that live here. And this sort of brings together a beautiful trilemma of interlinkages which I want to talk about here. Tourism, growth and conservation. It's pretty simple really. Palau needs to develop as a nation in order for a better standard of living for the people that live there. Its industry, they've rejected a lot of extractive forms, and even industrial fishing doesn't make up a massive part of it. And instead, they've committed to tourism. Palau's sort of brand of tourism is sort of niche, sustainable, high-end tourism, which sells itself as a pristine paradise. And in order to sustain this as a destination, basically they need their marine and natural resources completely conserved. So for once, conservation can be really high up on the agenda. This brought to life the Palau Pledge, something completely revolutionary. So instead of having a visa stamp in your passport, you have a pledge to sign which outlines a sort of list of responsible behaviours which as a visitor you're supposed to uphold during all of your time on the island, to make sure that you leave the place somewhere better than when you found it. And this idea and marketing has won an outrageous amount of awards and should hope to be a model for other Pacific nations which hope to uphold their traditional, sustainable way of living, which sometimes isn't always culturally compatible with the visitors that come. Although attempting to be well managed, the tourism industry of over 100,000 visitors a year does put pressure on the island, with many finding the cost of living far too high, meaning that the sustainable way of fishing, just like their granddad would, is no longer a viable option to sort of raise a family. And speaking to the Palau Conservation Society, the biggest NGO on the island, which helps to facilitate conservation on a local level, this means that people just take, and as a consequence, the coral reef and nearshore fisheries are almost in a state of emergency. As a response to increasingly degraded and overfished waters, Palau made a drastic step and announced that they would turn into a marine reserve 80% of their exclusive economic marine zone, an area the size of Texas. And this is alongside making sure that 30% of land and 30% of nearshore waters of the 16 states are all protected, a step up on the Micronesian challenge. This, as well as many other of the plans that Palau have astonished me with the efficiency of which they are or have been put in place. And I think this is, from what I could gather, down to several things. One, an incredibly enthusiastic president. Two, a small population with a very small lobby against any sort of conservation action. And three, there are actually economic incentives for doing it. But I think the biggest one of all of these is the rich cultural conservation heritage which Palau has had for generations and generations. Chief traditionally held the most power here, and there existed such thing as a bull. A bull is more commonly known as a moratorium, and although a lot of the time fishing for subsistence purposes to feed their family, there were times where resource degradation sort of meant that there had to be called a bull. And this often went unquestioned, and this very indigenous form of conservation was an integral part of society. And this is unlike a lot of the Western world, where in a sea of industrialisation we have lost this attachment with the land and those traditional forms of governance. This then makes passing laws such as the 6th largest marine protected area in the world a rather simple task. It's sort of just like, what's going on here? Oh, it's a bull, mate. Alright, sound. It's sort of that. A lot easier. And it's this conservation ethic and way of working which makes Palau so special. And conserving this heritage through the autonomous management of their tourism industry by hoping to place at the forefront of every visitor's experience Palauan values, something so important. And this, I hope, can help Palau remain that pristine paradise with some of the best coral reefs in the world by doing it their way, the way their forefathers had done for millennia before. Ramblings out. And to keep up to date with everything, make sure you give all of these a follow.